Dr. Elena Myrov adjusted the controls of the lunar observatory, her eyes locked on the flickering screens displaying a tapestry of cosmic data. The observatory, a beacon of solitude on the moon's stark landscape, offered unparalleled silence, disturbed only by the soft hum of machinery and the occasional chirp of incoming transmissions. This late into the lunar night, the data flow was usually routine, but tonight was different. As Elena sifted through the cosmic noise, a series of irregular blips caught her attention. They didn't match any known pattern or celestial phenomenon. Her pulse quickened as she leaned forward, tapping commands into the console. "Computer, isolate that sequence. Filter out background radiation and enhance the signal integrity," she instructed, her voice echoing slightly in the confined space. The computer processed her commands, and slowly, the random noise on the screen began to coalesce into a distinct pattern. It was a sequence, rhythmic and structured, a stark contrast to the chaotic natural emissions from space. Elena's heart raced. She had spent years scanning the heavens for such anomalies, hints of something beyond the known, and now it was unfolding before her. She recorded the sequence, her hands steady despite the trembling excitement. She reached for her communicator, her fingers hesitating just a moment before she pressed the contact for Dr. Simon Beck, her colleague and a fellow astrophysicist on Earth. Simon's face appeared on the screen, his image grainy and lagging slightly behind his words. "Elena, this had better be worth waking me up at 3 a.m., he grumbled, his voice thick with sleep. "Just watch," Elena said, her voice a mix of nerves and exhilaration. She sent the recorded data to him, watching his face as the realization dawned. Simon sat up straighter, rubbing his eyes before staring intently at the data playing out on his screen. It's not natural, is it? It's too regular. This could be it, Elena. This could be what we've been hoping for." "Exactly," Elena replied, her eyes alight with the implications of their discovery. "It's structured, repeating. It's from beyond Neptune, and I think it's directed. Directed and deliberate." Simon leaned in, his skepticism giving way to a cautious excitement. "Directed? As in an intelligent origin? Elena, do you realize what this means? We need to verify this. Run it through every algorithm we have. We can't afford to be wrong about this." "I know, Simon. I already started some analyses, but I need more computing power. I need your help." "You'll have it," Simon said, fully awake now, his professional curiosity taking over. "I'll set up our mainframe for remote access. Send everything you have. We're going to need to approach this carefully." Elena nodded, a smile breaking through her usual reserved demeanor. "Thank you, Simon. I'm onto something. I can feel it." As the communication ended, Elena sat back, her mind racing with possibilities. She knew the protocols for such a discovery dictated caution and secrecy until more was understood. However, the part of her that was still the little girl staring up at the stars from her backyard felt like shouting from the rooftops. The signal was a beacon, a mystery calling out across the vastness of space, and Elena felt irresistibly drawn to its source. She knew what she had to do next. The path was fraught with challenges, but the signal might just be the discovery of a lifetime. She needed a ship, a crew, someone who could handle the complexities of a deep space mission with discretion. Her thoughts turned to Ravi Jain, a former space pilot known for his unconventional methods and his willingness to skirt the edges of strict space regulations. He was perfect for what she needed, and as the moon's pale light shone through the observatory's viewing port, she decided it was time to make another call. Elena reached for her communicator again, her resolve firming. The next steps would set the course for what could be the greatest adventure of her life, or the most profound disappointment. Either way, she knew she couldn't turn back now. Elena had always known that the right partner for an endeavor like this was crucial. Her mind raced through potential candidates, but one name stood out, Ravi Jain. A former space pilot who had retired under mysterious circumstances, Ravi was known for his skill, bravery, and disdain for excessive bureaucracy, a perfect combination for her needs. She found him on Mars, in a settlement known for its rough edges and transient population. The place was a favorite haunt for those looking to disappear into the background, and Ravi had embraced that anonymity since his retirement. Elena entered the dimly lit bar, her eyes scanning the crowd before settling on a figure in the far corner. Ravi sat alone, a drink in his hand, staring at a screen displaying the latest racing stats from the asteroid belt circuits. Ravi Jain? Elena approached, her voice steady despite her apprehension. Ravi looked up, his expression unreadable. He studied her for a moment before nodding slightly. I haven't heard that name said with such caution in years. Sit, Dr. Myrov. What brings you to this corner of the solar system? Elena took the seat opposite him, her eyes not leaving his. I need a pilot, she started, straightforward, the way she knew people here preferred to communicate. And not just any pilot. I need someone who isn't bothered by a bit of unofficial activity. Ravi's interest seemed to peak, but his face remained impassive. Unofficial activity? Sounds like the whispers of trouble. What's the job? Elena leaned forward, lowering her voice. I've detected something beyond the outer planets. It's not just an anomaly, it's a pattern. It's structured, intelligent. Ravi raised an eyebrow, his earlier disinterest waning. Intelligent? You mean alien? Potentially. And if it is, I need to find out what it is. Official channels are too slow, too cautious. I can't wait for committees and permissions. Ravi took a sip of his drink, his gaze now locked on hers. And why should I get involved in this? What's in it for me? Adventure. Discovery. The chance to be part of something bigger than the both of us, Elena said, her voice passionate, conveying the magnitude of what she felt. Plus, I can pay. Enough to fund any life you want here or anywhere else. Ravi chuckled, a low sound that filled the brief silence. Money is easy to come by, but adventure? That's been harder to find since I left the pilot's seat. He paused, considering her proposal. All right, Dr. Myrov. I'm in. When do we leave? Elena's relief was palpable. As soon as we can secure a ship. That, I can help with. I still have contacts who owe me a few favors. We'll need a crew, though. This isn't a two-person job. I know a few people who can help. Experts in their fields and discreet. Discreet is good, Ravi nodded, finally allowing a small smile to break through his stoic exterior. I'll make some calls. Meet me here tomorrow, same time. We'll plan our next move. As Elena stood to leave, Ravi's voice stopped her. Elena, whatever we find out there, it changes things. You ready for that? Elena paused, then nodded, more to herself than to him. I've been ready my whole life. She stepped out into the Martian night, the red dust swirling around her boots. The stars above were clear and bright, a silent witness to the pact she had just made. Tomorrow, they would start preparing for a journey that might alter the course of human history. Tonight, though, Elena allowed herself to feel the weight of what was to come, and the hope that drove her forward. As the Martian sun set, casting long shadows over the red dust, Elena and Ravi delved into the task of assembling a crew and securing the necessary equipment for their journey. The hours stretched into the night, filled with hushed conversations and the soft glow of data screens. While Ravi focused on logistics, Elena spent her time in a makeshift lab she had set up in one of the outpost's spare modules. She was surrounded by stacks of old hard drives and data pads, relics from her father's work that she had kept in storage for years, never fully understanding why. I've got something here, Ravi, Elena called out, her voice echoing slightly in the cramped space. She was hunched over a data pad, its screen flickering with the remnants of decrypted files. Ravi, who had been negotiating terms over a comm link, ended his call and walked over to her. What is it? It's my father's research, Elena explained, swiping through screens filled with dense scientific jargon and complex diagrams. He was onto something similar, something about a pattern in the cosmic microwave background that didn't fit any known models. Ravi leaned in, squinting at the screen. And you think it's related to your signal? I'm almost certain, Elena said, her fingers pausing on a particularly revealing document. Look here, this segment. He mentions a structured anomaly, detected just months before his lab shut down under mysterious circumstances. Ravi rubbed his chin, his eyes reflecting the seriousness of their discovery. Mysterious circumstances? Sounds like he might have been silenced. Elena nodded, a chill running down her spine despite the warm air circulating through the module. I've always wondered if there was more to his accident than we were told. This could be it. The two stood in silence for a moment, considering the implications. Then Ravi broke the silence. We need to be careful, Elena. If what you're suggesting is true, there might still be people out there who want to keep this buried. I know, Elena replied, her resolve hardening. But we can't let that stop us. We need to know what my father was onto. Ravi agreed, and they spent the next several hours combing through the data, piecing together a rough timeline of Dr. Myrov's last months. The deeper they dug, the more apparent it became that he had been on the brink of a major discovery. Here, Elena pointed to an entry dated just a week before her father's untimely death. He was preparing for a presentation, something he believed would change the foundation of interstellar science. But he never got to give that presentation, Ravi mused, reading over her shoulder. No, he didn't, Elena said softly. The accident happened 2 days later. And all his research was archived, buried, more like. Ravi closed the data pad, his expression serious. We're going to find out what he was working on, Elena. Not just for your signal, but for him, too. The next morning, as the first light of dawn touched the Martian landscape, Elena and Ravi met with their newly assembled crew in the same bar where they had agreed to embark on this mission. The team was a mix of scientists, engineers, and a couple of ex-military types who didn't mind bending the rules. Elena stood before them, her back straight, her eyes clear. Thank you all for joining us. What we're about to do won't be easy. It won't be entirely legal. But it's important. We're following a signal that could lead us to a discovery of cosmic significance. The crew listened, their expressions a mix of skepticism and excitement. Ravi stepped up beside her, his voice firm. We've got a ship, we've got a plan, and we've got each other. Let's get to work. As they dispersed to prepare, Elena felt a sense of purpose she hadn't known since her father's death. They were doing more than chasing a signal, they were chasing his legacy, and perhaps, uncovering truths meant to be found. The pre-dawn air was cool and crisp as Elena and Ravi, alongside their newly assembled crew, stood on the launch pad beside their ship, a sleek, somewhat aged vessel that had seen better days but was still more than capable for their needs. The red Martian sky was beginning to brighten with the promise of sunrise, casting a pale light over the scene. Ravi clapped his hands together, gathering the crew's attention. All right, team, this is it. All systems are green, and weather conditions for launch are perfect. Let's go over everything one last time. Elena watched the crew as they nodded, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. She understood their feelings well, the excitement of the unknown tinged with the fear of what might lie ahead. As they boarded the ship, Elena pulled Ravi aside. You're sure about this, right? There's no turning back after this. Ravi met her gaze, his eyes steady. Elena, I haven't been this sure about anything in a long time. Let's find your signal. The interior of the ship was cramped but functional, with narrow corridors leading to various modules. The crew busied themselves with final preparations, checking their stations and securing cargo. In the cockpit, Elena and Ravi strapped into their seats as the launch countdown began. Outside, the engines hummed to life, a deep, resonating sound that filled the cabin. Control, this is Phoenix 1 requesting final clearance for launch, Ravi spoke into the comm, his voice calm. Phoenix 1, you are cleared for launch. Godspeed, came the reply over the speaker. Elena felt the familiar flutter of nerves in her stomach as she gripped the armrests of her seat. The final countdown echoed through the ship, each number resounding with finality. 3, 2, 1, ignition. The ship lurched forward, the powerful engines propelling them into the sky. Elena watched Mars recede on the monitors, its surface a sprawling canvas of reds and browns. As they ascended, the sky shifted from red to the black of space, stars appearing like distant pinpricks of light. Once in orbit, Ravi turned to Elena, a broad grin spreading across his face. "First leg of the journey is a success. How are you holding up, Doctor?" Elena let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "I'm fine. Better now that we're actually on our way." The journey ahead was daunting. Their destination was a distant sector of space where Elena's signal had originated, a journey that would take weeks, even with their advanced propulsion systems. As they settled into the routine of space travel, the crew adjusted to their roles. Elena spent her days poring over her father's research and monitoring the signal, which grew stronger as they approached its source. One evening, as they gathered in the small common area for a meal, Elena shared more about the purpose of their mission with the crew. "This signal isn't just a scientific anomaly. It could be a beacon, calling us to something greater. Each of you is here because you have the skills and the courage to help us uncover what might be one of the most significant discoveries in human history." The crew listened intently, their earlier reservations giving way to a shared sense of purpose. After the meeting, Mark, one of the engineers, approached Elena. "Dr. Myrov, if this turns out to be what you think it is, first contact or proof of other intelligences, it will change everything. Are we really prepared for that?" Elena considered his question, her mind racing with the implications of their discovery. "We have to be. This is bigger than any one of us. It's about all of humanity." As the days turned into weeks, the Phoenix 1 continued its relentless push through space, each moment bringing them closer to the unknown. Elena found herself looking out at the stars each night, wondering about what awaited them at their journey's end. The signal was no longer just a series of data points on a screen. It was a mystery that bound them all together, a thread pulling them forward into the depths of space, toward a destination that promised to hold answers to questions they had not yet thought to ask. The journey through space had settled into a routine, with each day mirroring the last, until a sudden jolt broke the monotony. Alarms blared throughout the Phoenix 1 as the ship shuddered violently, throwing the crew off balance. Elena gripped the edge of her workstation, her eyes wide with alarm. "What was that?" she shouted, struggling to maintain her footing as another tremor rocked the ship. Ravi, already at the navigation console, scanned the readouts rapidly. "We've been hit. Looks like an explosion in the engine sector." The crew rallied quickly, following emergency protocols with practiced ease. Mark and Joanne, the ship's engineers, suited up and headed towards the damaged area to assess the situation. Elena and Ravi met in the corridor, the dim emergency lighting casting long shadows. "Do you think it was an accident?" Elena asked, her voice tense. Ravi's expression was grim. "I don't believe in coincidences. Not out here. This feels like sabotage." As Mark and Joanne returned, their news was not encouraging. "It's bad," Mark reported, removing his helmet. "The explosion damaged one of the main thrusters. We can make repairs, but it'll take time, and we'll need to stop at the nearest station." "That's going to put us behind schedule," Ravi noted, running calculations on his tablet. "There's a mining colony on asteroid 438b. It's not ideal, but it's the closest place we can dock." Elena nodded, her mind racing with the implications of their delay. "Let's do it. We can't afford to be sitting ducks out here." The Phoenix 1 limped towards asteroid 438b, a small, remote mining colony that rarely saw visitors from the inner solar system. As they approached, the colony's administrator, a gruff man named Dalmar, greeted them via comlink. "Phoenix 1, this is Colony 438b. We weren't expecting visitors." "State your business." Ravi responded, his tone diplomatic. "We've had a bit of trouble with one of our engines. We need to dock for repairs. Can you assist?" There was a pause before Dalmor replied. "All right, we can help. But keep your crew close. We don't like trouble here." The colony was a stark, utilitarian place, carved directly into the asteroid. It housed a close-knit community of miners who eyed the newcomers with suspicion. As the crew set to work on repairs, Elena explored the colony, seeking out any technology that might help them accelerate their work. In the colony's makeshift tavern, Elena overheard a conversation that caught her attention. Two miners, unaware of her presence, were discussing recent arrivals. "And they're not the first this month," one miner said, sipping his drink. "Heard about another ship that came through, all banged up. Said they were attacked near the outer belt." Curious, Elena approached them. "Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear. Do you know more about these attacks? We were hit by something ourselves." The miners looked at each other, then back at Elena. The taller one shrugged. "Not much to tell. It's rough out here. Lots of unclaimed territories and unsavory types looking to stake their claim. You best finish your business and move on quickly." Elena thanked them and returned to the ship with more questions than answers. It seemed their mission was not just a scientific pursuit but had unwittingly drawn them into the darker undercurrents of space politics and territorial disputes. Back on the Phoenix One, the crew made progress with the repairs. Ravi pulled Elena aside, his face serious. "We need to be on guard. If someone wants to stop us, they might try again. We should consider that this isn't just about territory or resources. It could be about the signal." Elena considered this, her resolve hardening. "Then we have even more reason to succeed. Let's tighten security and keep a low profile until we leave." The next few days passed without incident, and the ship's repairs neared completion. Elena spent her time piecing together her father's research with the new data they had gathered. Despite the setback, the crew's spirit remained unbroken, driven by the mystery of the signal and the potential discoveries that lay ahead. As the Phoenix One prepared to depart from the asteroid, Elena looked out at the cold, silent expanse of space, feeling a mix of apprehension and anticipation. The path ahead was fraught with unknowns, but the signal, constant and beckoning, pulled them onward. With the Phoenix One repaired and leaving the mining colony of Asteroid 438b behind, Elena and the crew set their course deeper into the uncharted regions of space. The incident at the colony had left everyone on edge, but the determination to uncover the source of the signal overshadowed their concerns. As they traveled, the signal grew stronger, leading them to an unremarkable sector that seemed empty of any significant celestial bodies. Ravi, navigating through the bridge's main console, frowned as he checked the coordinates. "This doesn't make sense." "According to the charts, there's nothing here," Ravi muttered, confusion evident in his tone. Elena stood beside him, peering at the star map. "The signal is definitely strongest here. Could it be something cloaked or buried?" Mark joined them on the bridge, overhearing the conversation. "I could run a deep scan. If there's anything out here, hidden or not, we'll find it." "Do it," Elena said, nodding decisively. The ship's scanners hummed to life, sending out waves of energy that penetrated the surrounding space. Minutes turned into hours as the crew waited anxiously for any sign of discovery. Finally, the console beeped, signaling a hit. "Got something," Mark exclaimed. "It's massive, hidden beneath the surface of that unassuming asteroid there. The material composition, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Ravi adjusted their course to bring them closer to the asteroid, while Elena prepared for a potential surface expedition. "We need to see this for ourselves. Suit up, everyone. We're going down there." The asteroid was small and barren, its surface a patchwork of craters and dust. The Phoenix One shuttle descended, landing with a soft thud. Elena, Ravi, and Joanne, equipped with their suits and gear, stepped out onto the asteroid's surface, their movements sluggish in the low gravity. They made their way to the coordinates identified by the ship's scanners. Joanne, the team's geologist, carried a portable drilling unit, which she set up over a promising area. As the drill bore down, the ground beneath them vibrated slightly. Elena watched, her heart racing with anticipation. Suddenly, the drill hit an obstruction, and a hollow sound echoed through their suit radios. "That's it. We found something," Joanne reported, excitement lacing her voice. They cleared the debris, revealing a smooth, metallic surface, part of a larger structure buried beneath the asteroid. The metal was adorned with symbols, none of which matched any known human or alien language previously encountered. "This is it," Elena breathed, her eyes wide as she traced the symbols with her gloved hand. "This must be the source of the signal." Ravi examined the structure, his expression serious. "Looks like some kind of hatch. There's a mechanism here. It might open it." "Let's see where it leads," Elena said, stepping back as Ravi manipulated the mechanism. With a hiss and a groan, the hatch slid open, revealing a dark chamber inside. The three exchanged a look before Ravi led the way, his lamp piercing the darkness. Inside, the chamber was lined with more intricate symbols, and at its center stood a device. It was unlike any technology they had seen. Its components were seamlessly integrated, almost organic in design. Elena approached the device, her suit's sensors alerting her to a low humming energy emanating from it. This could be what we've been searching for. An alien artifact capable of sending the signal." Ravi looked around, wary. "But why send it? And why here?" Elena considered the questions, her mind racing. Maybe it's not just about contact. Perhaps it's a warning, or an invitation. Joanne chimed in, her voice filled with awe. "Whatever it is, we've made first contact. This changes everything." They spent several hours documenting the chamber and the device, careful not to disturb its settings. Elena took samples of the symbols, hoping to decode their meaning later. As they returned to the Phoenix One, Elena felt a mix of elation and fear. They had discovered an alien artifact, potentially the first undeniable proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. But with such discovery came great responsibility. "What do we do now?" Ravi asked as they stared at the asteroid shrinking behind them. "We take our findings back. Share them with the world," Elena replied, determined. "Humanity needs to know they're not alone." The journey back was quiet, each crew member lost in their thoughts, contemplating the implications of their discovery. The artifact, now recorded in their logs and embedded in their memories, was a beacon that had called them across the stars, and now they were the messengers, carrying its secrets back to Earth. Back aboard the Phoenix One, the mood had shifted palpably. The discovery of the alien artifact had infused the crew with a sense of purpose, but also a deep, unsettling awareness of the broader implications. As they commenced their journey back to Earth, Elena found herself repeatedly reviewing the footage and data they had collected from the asteroid. In the ship's makeshift lab, Elena and Joanne pored over the symbols and the artifact's structural details. The room was filled with a tense silence, broken only by the occasional hum of equipment and the soft tapping of keyboards. "This symbol here," Joanne pointed at the screen, "it keeps repeating. See? It's everywhere on the artifact's surface and in the chamber." Elena leaned closer, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It must be key to understanding their language or their technology. Maybe it's a clue about the artifact's purpose." Ravi entered the lab, his face lined with worry. "How's it going here? Any breakthroughs?" "Some possibilities, but nothing concrete yet," Elena replied without looking up. "We're just starting to decode the structural patterns." Ravi nodded, glancing over the data. "I've been thinking about the signal that led us here. It was deliberate, a beacon. This artifact, it wasn't just lost or discarded. It was placed intentionally." Elena paused, the gravity of Ravi's words sinking in. "You mean it's not just an artifact? It's a message?" "Exactly," Ravi confirmed, his voice solemn. "And whatever message it's meant to convey, the senders deemed it worth reaching across the stars." The discussion was interrupted by an alert from the ship's communication system. It was a transmission from Earth, encrypted and urgent. Elena toggled the receive switch, and the face of Dr. Simon Beck appeared on the screen. "Elena, Ravi, are you there? Please tell me you're receiving this." "We're here, Simon." "What's wrong?" Elena asked, noting the tension in Simon's expression. "It's about your discovery, the artifact. Word has gotten out." Somehow, the information leaked, and now there's significant interest from various global powers and corporations. They're demanding that you hand over the artifact upon arrival for global security reasons. Elena exchanged a worried look with Ravi. Simon, tell them we're still assessing the situation. We'll discuss the appropriate course of action when we have a better understanding of what we found. Simon nodded, though he looked doubtful. I'll hold them off as long as I can, but you should hurry. The communication cut off, leaving a heavy silence in the lab. Ravi paced slowly, hands clasped behind his back. This just became a lot more complicated. If we bring the artifact back to Earth under these circumstances, it could spark an international incident. Elena stood, resolute. Then we won't bring it back, not until we know exactly what we're dealing with. We need more time to study it, to understand its message. Joanne chimed in, her voice eager. There's more to analyze from the energy patterns. The artifact's core emits a low-frequency pulse. It might be manipulating time on a quantum level. Time manipulation? Ravi raised an eyebrow. That sounds like science fiction. It's not fiction. It's theoretical physics, Joanne corrected him gently. If this artifact can indeed manipulate time, even in a minor way, its implications are beyond anything we've encountered. The crew settled into an intense discussion about their next steps, weighing the scientific potential against the geopolitical pressures waiting for them back home. We should run a controlled experiment, Elena finally suggested. We'll use the artifact's energy pulse to send a small, inorganic object forward in time. Just a few minutes to prove the concept. The crew agreed, and preparations began for the experiment. The atmosphere was one of controlled urgency. They needed answers about the artifact's capabilities, and they needed them fast. Hours later, the experiment was ready. The crew gathered around the containment chamber, where a simple metal cube was placed next to the artifact. Elena initiated the process, her hand steady as she activated the energy pulse. The air in the lab thickened, a visible shimmer surrounding the chamber. Seconds ticked by, each one stretching impossibly. Then, with a small pop, the cube vanished, only to reappear moments later. It worked, Elena breathed, a mix of awe and fear in her voice. We have just witnessed an object move through time. The implications were staggering. They had discovered an alien technology capable of affecting time itself. As the crew looked at each other, they realized that their journey had changed them in the course of human history. The question now was not just what to do with the artifact, but how to protect the future they were stepping into. As the Phoenix 1 approached Earth, the weight of their discovery lay heavily on the crew, particularly on Elena. The artifact's ability to manipulate time, even on a small scale, was a revelation that could not be taken lightly. The control room was tense with anticipation and underlying concern as they prepared for the political and scientific storm awaiting them. Ravi broke the silence, his voice steady. We need a plan that safeguards the artifact and keeps us out of the crosshairs of those who would misuse this technology. Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the blue orb growing larger in their view. We go public. Full transparency. If the world knows about the artifact and its capabilities, it will be harder for any one group to monopolize or bury it. Joanne, checking the data one last time, chimed in, I agree with Elena. We document everything and release it simultaneously across all media. The public's eyes will be on this, making it difficult for anyone to make a move without scrutiny. Mark added, I've prepared the documentation, videos, everything. Once we're in range, I'll send it to every major news network on the planet. Elena gave a small smile, grateful for her team's support. Let's do it. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, the data was transmitted. Within minutes, news of the discovery spread like wildfire. The reaction was instantaneous and massive. Headlines blared across every screen, and the world watched in awe and trepidation as the crew of the Phoenix 1 revealed their findings. The ship touched down in a secure international facility, where world leaders, scientists, and the press had gathered. As they disembarked, Elena and her crew were greeted not just with curiosity and awe but with a barrage of questions. Dr. Myrov, Can you explain what this means for the future of humanity? One reporter shouted. Is it true that this technology can alter time? Another asked. Before Elena could respond, an official stepped forward, signaling for silence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Elena Myrov, who will make a statement. Elena stepped up to the podium, her crew behind her. The cameras flashed, capturing this historic moment. Today, we stand at a crossroads in human history, Elena began, her voice clear and strong. The artifact we've discovered is not just a piece of alien technology, it is a message, a gift, and perhaps a warning. It has the power to manipulate time, a concept that until now, we believed was only theoretical. The crowd murmured, hanging on her every word. We must proceed with caution, she continued. This technology must not be hoarded, weaponized, or used irresponsibly. It must be studied openly, with the cooperation of the global community. We owe it to ourselves and to future generations to handle this discovery with the care it deserves. As she spoke, the world listened, captivated by the gravity of her words and the potential implications of the artifact. After the press conference, Elena and her crew were escorted to a secure location where global leaders convened to discuss the next steps. The debates were intense, with various factions pushing for control or advocating for shared stewardship. Throughout the discussions, Elena remained a steadfast advocate for ethical scientific exploration. This artifact doesn't belong to one nation or one corporation. It belongs to humanity. We must establish an international coalition to study it, involving the best scientific minds from around the globe. After days of negotiations, an agreement was reached. The artifact would be kept in a newly established international facility under the supervision of a coalition of nations and scientific organizations. Elena and her team were asked to lead the initial research, given their experience and understanding of the technology. As the conference concluded, Elena stood by a window, looking out at the peaceful landscape below, a stark contrast to the storm of activity around the artifact. Ravi joined her, his expression thoughtful. We've changed the world, Elena, he said quietly. Yes, we have, Elena replied. But more importantly, we've potentially safeguarded the future. Whatever comes next, we've given humanity a fighting chance to make the right decisions. Together, they watched the sunset, aware that the world they knew was changing but hopeful that their efforts had steered it toward a brighter, more united future.